Hey guys, it's Sierra. We are going to be painting a tiger today. So I have my painting essentials kit right here, and I've unloaded everything already, got my water and my paper towel, and now we're ready to begin. So we're going to be using a little bit of orange, yellow, browns, and blacks today, and we're going to begin with my round brush. This is a size 8. I'm gonna go ahead and get it ready. Get it all wet in here. Kind of push it to the side, get some of the water off of it. And then I'm gonna go over here, grab some orange, and bring it over here. Grab some water. So this is looking a little more orange than I want. So I'm going to add a little bit of this yellow. Bring it over. Now swish it in the water. Last but not least, I'm going to get brown just a little bit. Put it in together, and that seems to be like more of the color that I'm looking for to begin. So we're gonna have to do this in layers, and we're gonna have to wait for them to dry. So first we're gonna take our orange color that we made and kind of go around and let's make a base layer. Now it does not have to be perfect by any means. We're just gonna move it around. Some parts will be darker, some parts will be lighter. I like that personally, totally up to you. But I'm gonna get some more water, put it around, get some more paint on these areas where I know this is technically like going to be a shadow. Going to make it a little bit darker, have more pigment in my brush where there are creases. And I kept a little bit of the tail white because I wanted the tip of her tail to be white. And the bottom of the feet, I'm basically going to just use water and whatever little bit of paint is left on because I want them to be lighter. And push it around and then go back, get some more orange. I'm going to keep doing that. So I typically work left to right because I am right-handed, but also for this, I'm trying to use less water because I want it to dry faster. You could use more water, but it would bleed a little bit more. Just to keep that in mind. If you're, just sitting down for a quick little session, then typically try to use less water on your brush. Okay, so I ran out of my orange color, so I'm going to go ahead and make a little bit more. Take my orange, get this yellow color, mix it, then a little bit of brown. Okay, and then I'm going to do that again. Start adding in some color on the leg. So I kind of put a little too much here. So what I do is I dab my brush on the paper towel so it makes it dry. So that way when you spread it around, it's less. And I always dip my brush back in water. That's just, you don't have to have a super wet brush, but I feel like it's a bit easier to do that. Okay, so my color was a little too yellow, so add a little orange. I'm gonna kind of leave it heavy right there in the creases of this tiger. And this behind leg is going to be darker because it is behind the shadow. Kind of leave it like that for now. Okay, so we're going to let that dry and we're going to work on the face. Now above the eyes are 2 white areas. So I'm basically going to try to avoid that with my color. I'm going to go around like this and around like this, kind of like an M over the eyes. And then I'm going to take it and I'm going to move it around. And I'm looking for that light color here. Not super dark. I'm kind of giving these triangle-like things around the eyes. And the ears are going to fill in. Okay, so now what I want to do is switch my brushes to this little small brush. If you have a small pointy brush, that's great. If you have the kit, then you'll find the one that's tiny. You'll get it a little bit wet, and we're gonna work with this pink here. Get it over here. Now I want my pink to be almost like a yellowy pink, more skin tone pink. So I'm gonna add a little bit of this yellow, move it around. It's a little too orange for me. Add in some red. Okay, there you go. Oh, and I had a little bit of black right there, so give it some color. Okay, so you want to make sure you don't have too much water on your brush right now, otherwise it will bleed all over. And since we're working with such a small space, make sure it's just not too wet. Okay. Now I'm going to still take my little brush. I'm going to go back, and if you have more of that orange color, I'm going to actually add in some brown. Make it a little bit darker, have more brown tones to it. And I'm going to go around and I'm going to add in just a touch to the ears right here in the middle, like that. And then I'm going to take it, I'm actually going to add just a little around here and a little in here. Same with all the legs. And kind of under the tail where there's this shadow bit here. I just kind of like to give the illusion. Okay, so you see I got water and a little bit of paint on my paper. I just rip off some paper towel, quickly dab it up, and you don't even know it's there. So if you ever feel like you made a mistake, it's super easy to correct. Just have your paper towel ready and you can adjust it. Okay, so in this face, on the tiger's face, I want to add in a little more darkness, kind of around the nose here, where I have these little black lines, and a little in the middle, and then kind of this up top here on this head, top of the head. Okay, and one last thing, kind of give it some darkness right here, around the face, where the body connects. And again, this can be really sloppy, basically. It's so forgiving. Just give it some color. We just want it to give it some depth. Now, we want to probably add in a little bit of light brown. So I'm going to take my brown and some water right here. It gives me that really nice light brown. And I'm going to kind of add it to the bottom of the feet here. And a little bit of the back of the leg. And I'm going to kind of just go around the tip of the tail and kind of give it some depth here. Okay, so it's looking really good so far. Now we are going to move on to the black stripes. Now this is where you want to make sure that your paint is super dry. And mine is almost there. If you turn your head and look to the side, and if it's shiny, and obviously it's still wet, we want to make sure that it is drying. So while we are waiting for it to dry, I know that the tip of my little feet are dry. So I'm going to get my tiny brush wet again. Get a little bit of black, put it down right here. And I'm going to add in some shadows of black around the tips of the feet. Just kind of give it a little bit of detail here. And I'm going to do the same with the tail. Kind of like lines, sort of. It's okay if it's messy. Get some more black paint. Okay, now you can pause this video if you need to, give it some more time to dry. That's totally fine. I'm going to begin in some of the areas that I know are dry. So I'm going to start over here. And this part is kind of easy. You just kind of start giving it some lines, some stripes here. There's no wrong way to do this. I would say just make sure your orange layer is dry, otherwise the black will bleed. And you don't really want that to happen. So just keep going here. on my dry parts. And you can always skip over some of the wet parts too. I'm kind of just like squiggling around just to give some lines. And so the top here kind of goes like this, and then down. Okay, so I'm going to skip over this little area right here because it's still a little bit wet in the middle here. So we are going to just kind of go back and forth, some from the bottom. Mainly a lot of them come from the top, but this is supposed to look fun and playful, and really, like I said, there's no wrong way to do the stripes. All right, and I keep going here and attach it to the leg. Kind of does this little triangle bit here. Okay, and then move on to the tail. These are smaller. They kind of are like V's or back and forth lines. You really cannot get it wrong. See, I kind of touched where it was wet still. So I'm going to take my paper towel again, just tap at it really fast. It's no big deal. I'll wait for it to dry, and then I'll make a little mark over it, and you won't even be able to tell. So if you find that your stripes are drying and they're like not quite as black as you want them, you could go over them. Do 2 layers. So that way you get a thick black color for the stripes. And you can go back in and add in more wherever you want. So for the face, there's kind of this line right here on the side, and maybe one right here. I want to make sure you don't do too much on the face, just because we want to just have it open and it looks really cute, so you can tell. And then I'm going to get my brush wet. I'm basically going to not get any, like a little bit of black, so it's like a very light gray, and just kind of come in here and give it a shadow around the mouth and a few dots in the whites right there, and same a little bit around the tip of the eyes right here. Okay, and then while that's drying, actually I can come back in and fix my line that I made up right here. I will go around and use this like brown orange color that I made and just kind of fill in where the shadows might have some color. All right, and maybe a little more on the face here. And you can always let it dry and see what it needs to make it look like the tiger that you want it to. All right. And that's it. So here you have your tiger. I'm super glad that you watched. If you don't have a painting essentials kit from us, then I will link it below. And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks, guys. See you next time.